Okay, so the purpose of this video is to show you how to install WordPress on your website. Before we go any further, you will need your own domain name and your own hosting provider before you go any further. If you don't have those or you don't know what they are, you'll need to have a look into what those things are. I can briefly give you an idea now, but you will need both of those things. So in terms of my website, my domain name is thetestspecimen.com. You can get domain names from various registrars. I used namecheap.com. They're very good, provide domain names. And in terms of hosting, I use Hostgator, which I also find absolutely fine. The hosting provider is basically just a place where files are stored away from your home. So in a remote place, that place is always online. So all the pictures and the text and everything from your website is stored off-site and is always available for people to look at. That's basically what a hosting provider is, but you'll need both of those things. While I'm here, for this tutorial, because I have my main website, I've set up a subdomain, which means it's a subsection of my website to install WordPress on. So just to show you that there's nothing there at the moment, it's called wpexample.thetestspecimen.com. If we go to there, you can see there's nothing there at the moment. There is only a CGI bin folder. So this is the place where we're going to install WordPress as an example. I will explain the implication of this in a moment. It won't affect you if you don't have a subdomain set up. You don't need to set up a subdomain. It's fine. We'll get to that in a moment. The first thing we need to do is we need to download WordPress. So go to wordpress.org. There's a difference between wordpress.org and wordpress.com. You need to go to wordpress.org. I explain the difference on a blog post on my website if you're interested, so go and take a look. Hit this button here. Whatever the latest version number is, it doesn't need to be specifically 4.5.3. If it's 4.5.4 by the time you watch this video, great, download that one. So we can see it's downloading in the bottom corner here. It's not a very big file, so that's finished. We'll go show in folder and we'll cut that out of the download folder, close that, close the internet, and we can paste it onto our desktop. So now we know where it is. So now we have the file. So the next thing we need to do is we need to log into the back end of our website, which is basically where the files are stored, or you can access where the files are stored. So let's open up a browser. Hostgator uses cPanel, so you put your domain name in and then cPanel, and that allows you to log into the back end of the website so you can upload files and things like that. If you're not using cPanel, you just need to log into however you log into the back end of your website. The folder structure may be slightly different if you don't use cPanel. It shouldn't be a big deal for what we're doing, so don't worry about it. You should be able to follow where we go and what we're doing without much trouble. I know, for example, GoDaddy use a different backend. I'm not a huge fan of GoDaddy for that reason, and many others, but you should be fine. So once you're in the back end of your website, you need to find the file manager basically, so we can upload the file. If you get asked anything about where you want to go to WebRoot, and it should take you to the folder system. If you want to check if you're in the right place, you should be in a folder called public_HTML. Okay, and this is basically where all the files are stored for the main website. In your case, you may find it's very empty if you don't have a website at the moment. Don't worry about that. This is full of things because I have a website up and running under my main domain name. And that's another reason I've created a subdomain. So from now on, I'm going to start using this WP example folder as my main folder. If you are using your main web address, you will use the folder we're in now, i.e. this one here, to do all of the things I'm about to do, because that's where it needs to happen. But in my case, I'm going to go up into this folder, and you see it's fairly empty. This may be what you see in your main folder, which is fine. All this WP example folder that you see here is just the subdomain that I showed you a moment ago. So what we need to do is we need to upload a file here. Choose file, navigate to your desktop, and you'll see that got the WordPress file. Click open, and you should see that it starts uploading. You can see in the bottom left you've got the percentage uploading, in the bottom right you've also got progress bar. So I'll let that upload, and then I'll pause the video for a bit and then I'll come back. Okay, so that file's finished uploading now, so we'll go back to the folder. So there you can see there's the file. So the next thing we need to do is we need to right click on that and we need to click extract, and it will extract it to whatever folder you tell it to extract to. In this case it's public HTML WP example. In your case it may not have this WP example. Don't worry, it needs to be whatever folder you're working in. So we click extract files. Okay, it says it's done that successfully. So what we need to do is right click in the blank area and click reload, and we should reload the folder. So now you can see, I need to go back into my folder. Now you can see that this is WordPress folder. If we can now delete this, so we delete the WordPress zip file because we don't need it anymore because it's extracted into here. We then need to go into this WordPress folder that's been created. We need to select everything. If we click on the top one and we can hit shift and then hit the bottom one, it should select all of the files. Then we right click, we click move, and then we've got this folder path at the bottom. All you need to do is remove the WordPress at the end and then click move files. Then they should all disappear. We go up one level and there we have it. All the files are in the folder we want it to be. We can then delete this WordPress folder here because this is the one we just moved the files out of. So we delete the files. So that's it. All the files are in the folder we want them to be. As I said, you may just be working in the public HTML folder. I'm working in a subfolder. Don't worry about that. Everything will be fine. We don't need to do anything more with the files in here. We don't need to change anything. So we can leave the file manager now. The next thing we need to do before we go any further is we need to create a MySQL database. So you find your databases section and you go to MySQL databases. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a database name. Create something that is relevant. So in this case we'll call it WP example. And then we need to click create database. And there we go, it says it's created the database. Go back. Okay, so now we can see that we've got this new database at the bottom here, but you can see there's no user assigned to it. So the next thing we need to do is create a user. So we will call this user1. Okay, just writing that information down. So you don't forget to write this information down. You need to write the name of the database and you need your username and password for the user you're about to create. Don't forget them. Create a password for your user. Sorry. My password's not that great. I would suggest you have a strong password for your user for your database. It's quite important. So we'll create user. Okay, go back. So it's created the user, and then the last step we need to do is linking the database to the user. So if you come down here, it says add a user to a database. We select the user we just created and the database we just created, and then we click add. And the next thing it will do is ask you what permissions you want. In our case, we're going to select all privileges, make changes, and then go back. So that's the database setup done. All you need to do, as I said, is make a note of the database name, make a note of the username and password of the database user, and that's it. So we are now ready to install. So we don't need to be in the back end of the website anymore. So we'll close that down. We're going to open up a new browser, and we are going to go to the domain name. So in my case, it's wp-example.thetestspecimen.com. Okay. In your case, it's whatever your domain name is. So we go to there. And if you remember, before we had nothing. Now we have the WordPress install configuration. So first thing you need to do is select your language. Select whichever language is relevant. There are a lot. We'll go with United States English. Okay. And then it's giving you some basic information. So let's hit let's go. Now, you already know what your database name is because you've just created it literally a minute ago. So you need to put that in here. Okay. And you also created your username a moment ago. You need to put that in here. And then the password you created for that user of the database. This, you should be able to leave it alone as localhost. It's absolutely fine. The table prefix I would suggest you change. The standard table prefix is WP, which stands for WordPress. But if for nothing else but security reasons, I would suggest you change it to something else. I'm going to change it to TTS for the test specimen. But you can put whatever you like. And then we click submit. Okay, so now we're through to the next stage. Hit run the install. And then it's asking you for some more information. So, and note that it says, don't worry, you can always change these settings later. So it doesn't matter what you put here, but obviously put something relevant. So I'll put test website, username. Again, it doesn't need to be the same as your database username and password, by the way. It can be something completely different. It's up to you. I'm going to put, let's go with user1 again, like I did before. And the password. Okay. In my case, it's giving me. Wonder if that. Okay. In the case of my password, it's saying I have a weak password, and it's asking me to confirm that I want to use a weak password. If you then use something more complicated, it disappears. So just bear that in mind. It's a good feature. In my case, I'm going to confirm I'm going to use a weak password. It's not a problem for me because it's just a test website. Put your email address in as it's asking, and you don't want to tick this bottom box, and then click install. And it says it's installed. So let's go and try and log in. So put in the username and password you just wrote, and then click login, and you should get to sort of the back end of WordPress. So this, if you get to this screen, it means you've been successful. These are all the menus where you can start writing posts and getting plugins and adding users, all sorts of things, different settings. And if you go to this button at the top, it'll take you to the front end of your website to show you what the world sees when they type in your domain. So that it doesn't look like much at the moment, but once you've customized it, it will look great, I'm sure. So that's it for now. I will put up more videos explaining how to start customizing a WordPress website, what plugins are worth using and things like that. So go and check out the website for when they arrive. But for now, I suppose that's it. I'll see you later.